All right, welcome to another episode of Shedcast, the shed hunting podcast for all things shed hunting. Today we got NextGen Hunting. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick. Just let everybody know who you are.
My name's Christian. I run NextGen Hunting. You guys have probably seen a lot of my stuff. I mostly shed hunt, do a lot of hunting, and just really anything outdoors. So I'm excited to be on. This is pretty awesome. First
Yeah,
podcast I've ever done. So
really awesome. Heck yeah. I just wanted to get you on here, talk shed hunting. I mean, you've been cranking out the content, been kind of young and up and coming for quite a while. So I just wanted to get you on, pick your brain, and then tell some stories, stuff like that. So just to
perfect.
start out, I mean, you've already been kind of hitting the hills, so
Yeah.
you've already been diving in. So what you been getting into?
So I've done one trip this year, and it was more of just getting out, trying to get those first horns on the board. Just I had the bug bad. I saw some other
Yeah.
people posting about it, and I just,
Yeah.
including you were one.
Yeah.
I wanted to go out. So I ended up going to the spot that I know for sure I could find a horn, at least one, type of thing. And I got lucky, found my first elk horn and deer horn of the year, picked up a couple decent deer sheds, and I was able to come out. Found a really old elk shed that I had walked past multiple times. It made me
Yeah.
sick when I realized where it was laying because
Really?
my first brown this year was like, I don't know, 100 yards from where I picked up that horn this year, and it had been laying on the ground for a long time. But yeah, first ones of the year, got it done. Gonna try and get a trip out this weekend, but more than anything, scouting. Lots of scouting. Got some animals I want to find. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Was that one just a single or was that a match to something you'd already picked up?
just a single. I had never found that bull in there before,
Yeah.
which is surprising. And he's probably got other years because I found multiple years off of different bulls in that. But it was exciting. A little frustrating though that I've walked by it for 5 years probably now,
Yeah. It
and never.
happens.
And it was in the wide open. I don't know those who saw the Instagram stories. I mean, it was as plain as day, and I just had never glassed that direction, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt good to get the first two on the board for
It
the year.
does. I feel like it's a good way to break the ice. For me, like usually it takes me a little bit longer to break the ice. Sometimes we're getting into archery hunting right now, January,
Yes.
Arizona over the counter. So we're archery hunting. So I've been out chasing deer and that's what I've been getting into sheds, which is kind of nice because I've been going into a couple different spots, just newer stuff, kind of just changing it up. And I lucked into a couple smaller sheds and stuff. But that one, speaking of walking past though, I did think in August I was in this area and I had seen a couple mule deer bucks. So I had gone back into this little area and I was walking up this little wash and I seen like some tracks and stuff cutting across it. So I was like, I'm going to kind of stay along it. And sure enough, I ran into a shed and then I looked at my tracks from August and I was 53 yards from that shed 6 months ago.
Same thing. Like I've got pins of pictures and stuff of I sent to my dad because I had found several horns around this, and I would screenshot using like on Scout to Hunt and put those pictures around where that shed was, and it was literally like a circle of sheds around this one shed of the place
Oh
I
my
had it walked.
gosh. Just right in the center. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
that's always cool too. Like how you're going to that new country, especially doing hunting and shed hunting. I mean, that's always awesome to open up those opportunities
Yeah. And
for
just
new
breaking that
country.
ice.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
I feel like
I
just
feel like
getting into it.
anymore it's such a stress on people to get out and find that first one of the year. It's getting
Yeah.
worse every year because like even as a kid when I would go with my dad, it wasn't we wouldn't even go till because he hated to go before the Browns were on the ground. So
Yeah.
I didn't start going early until like 3 years ago, and that
Yeah.
pressure just kind of gets to me every year to get out and go
Yeah.
find that one.
It is because then you hit good spots and you're like, I still need to come back anyways, but,
Yeah,
or you're going to see something in there that you want to come back for.
exactly. We found multiple bucks this year. I mean, like when I go shed hunting this time of year, it's not all about shed hunting. Like we get up early, we go look for animals. Same thing. Like we'll go on hikes at night that are along tops of ridge lines or something like that and glass the whole way. We bring our spotters and stuff like just to see if we can't turn up animals. And then if we do turn up an animal, we usually back out of there pretty quick or stay away from that area that they're out, just so that they can be as least pressured as possible and kind of staying in that same country. And then we'll go back and glass. We'll never shed hunt that again until the browns are on the ground for that purpose, because you don't ever want to bump them out of there, because that sucks when
Yeah,
you
you don't
do.
want to miss that opportunity. Do you see a lot of other guys doing the same thing? Do you ever come across people
I
scouting?
don't. I see
Yeah,
a lot of bird hunters. That's
yeah,
a weird thing,
yeah,
but I never run into other people. I tend to like to go though to like where there's not going to be a lot of people, and that's where I find a lot of my pockets, just because I mean anymore that's almost what you have to do, especially if you want to find a deer, because I'm there's so many people that are willing to be out there all the time, and as soon as they hit the ground it seems like they've got them picked up. That's happened to me on a couple animals, and it kind of sours you for a minute, but
yeah.
I don't know.
That's there you
It's
go.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for
You're
sure.
out of Utah, right?
Yeah, based out of Utah, but I hit all the surrounding states and further states for sure. I
Man,
mean, like I said, I keep bringing this up, but shed hunting is getting to be such a big thing. You need to expand if possible, because if not, it's almost impossible. Like eventually somebody's going to find your shed spot. I feel like especially in Utah, it's so competitive.
yeah.
Especially where I'm at, this southern Utah, like you can't go anywhere. General units, any unit really, and it's pounded. Like you can't go a mile without walking on 5 different boot tracks. So
And then
it's
with
rough.
shed seasons coming on board, it makes it even just a little more competitive, I feel like.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And there's so many new people, which is awesome to get into. Like, I'm glad that people are getting into it. But I mean, the more
Yeah.
people that get into it, the less sheds they're going to be out there for sure.
Yeah. The more competitive it gets, the more that everyone wants to get a slice.
Yeah.
I
The
feel
more you
like
have
there's,
flags for you. I feel like that's not far down the road. My dad tells me that all the time. But yeah.
it's good to get out, stretch the legs. Like you said, you're looking at what's in the areas. Obviously, we know that's key in finding sheds, is just if they're not there, sheds aren't going to be there either. But with that being said, the amount of chalks and hard whites or something that people are picking up, or even like year old, half brown, half white. I mean, stuff like that people are picking up off the ground is also reassuring to me that people just flat out can't cover it all, no matter how many shed hunters are everywhere. And there are people absolutely everywhere sometimes, but sometimes they're not even looking for sheds. Like you said, they're out there bird hunting or just having a good time. So,
That's what, anytime I run into somebody out there, I try and stop and talk to them, just kind of figure out what they're doing. Cause a lot of the times they're not looking for sheds at all. Like, and that can be so discouraging. Like, I have some buddies that don't like to stop and talk. Like, they get mad at me. Like, why are you stopping to talk to these
yeah,
people? But like, just that reassurance, knowing they're not out there in your spot looking for sheds, it's always so nice to know.
yeah,
Because I mean, if not, if you don't stop, don't talk, you see them out there. Like I've ran into people looking for fossils and rocks, or like just nothing even kind of close to shed hunting. And
mhm,
if I would have never stopped, like that would be in the back of my mind. If I picked up a big single, or like there's no sheds on this hill where there should be sheds, like they've probably already hit this. But in reality, there's just not sheds there. It's also good because it tells you need to move to the next ridge or look harder for sure or something.
you might even get a tip out of somebody like that if they're like, "Oh yeah, I see an elk over there," and you're like, "Oh okay,"
Yep,
put that in your
exactly. I
pocket.
try and talk to people like at the gym. I know a kid that drives to Ely every day. I always ask him like, "Where have you seen elk?" Like along the line, or he drives to Vegas to something. I'm just always hounding him because he drives trucks. He's going all over the
Yeah,
states. I'm like, if you ever see like a big pile of deer, elk, whatever, let me know because it's awesome. And same thing like that. Like people tell you, especially if they're not out there hunting, say, "Oh yeah, we saw a group of deer down this way," like whatever, and that's a tall tell sign. Like you need to go that direction
yeah,
probably, and it
it's a
never
good
hurts
one.
to hike where there's animals.
No, definitely not. Definitely doesn't hurt to keep an eye on that. But
Hmm.
are you going to the expo at all?
Yeah, I am. I'll be at the expo for sure because I think it's the 13th through that Sunday or whatever. It's usually a Thursday through a Sunday, and I'll be at Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturday. I know I have some people that can't come till Saturday that I want to meet and talk with, so possibly because that's not that far from me, so it's not bad. I mean, 4-hour drive, and then I just kind of hang out with buddies up there. But yes, I'll for sure be there Thursday and Friday. I go those days just because it's not as busy, and I feel like it's more, especially for me because I'm up and coming, I can go and shake hands and have a more personal connection with whoever I'm talking with versus anyone else. Like anyone who's ever been, the hush line is usually out the door. And that's like first couple times I've ever talked to Eric, we're there, and that's kind of grown a little relationship there. And just going those days, I feel like there's not a pressure, a line of kids that want to also meet him
Yeah,
and stuff. I feel like I have more time to talk to him without wasting somebody else's day or time that could, I mean, they're just as excited as I am to go up there and talk for sure. And that's where I met Wes too, Rise and Shed. Like he's been a big help for me. Like I hit him up one time, talked to him over Instagram, and then actually went and met him at the expo, and we got talking, and he was like, I know you, whatever, just telling me about some sheds he'd seen me. And then eventually for one of the shed and tells, he was coming down to get some stuff, and that's how we got our first hike in, is just through a little bit of text and then going actually meeting him in person. And that's been a huge help to me, just having him that I can text like, hey, I need help with this as far as social stuff, or and he's an awesome dude. He's been a huge help for me, just a really good friend, all that.
yeah, he's a good dude. He puts a lot of heart and soul into what he does for sure, which
Oh,
is pretty
for
cool to
sure.
see. Yeah,
He's just a nice, genuine dude. It's like always willing to help. Like, I mean, it's awesome. But yeah, what I'm getting at is it's definitely helps, especially if you're um up and coming or want to do this full time. Eventually, it always helps to go to the expo, shake hands, get to meet people. Like, there's a lot of us running around the smaller ones, like that, the backcountry, Ruby Mountain, and it's just fun to talk with those guys. But
definitely.
yeah, the expo, love it. We'll be
Yeah,
up there 13th, 14th, I think are the days, and then maybe Saturday. But yeah, if you see me, say hi. So hopefully you're going to be up there and we can talk in person. It'd be
yeah.
awesome.
I'm gonna try to. I've been wanting to go for years, and there's so many things that are always in the way, or I gotta go here, I gotta go there. So this year, I'm like, dude, I need to get there. I need to meet some
For
people.
sure.
Some of
It's
the people I've already interviewed, and some of the people that I want to, talk to, and just I want to be there. I want to check out everything too.
yeah, this year I think they had like the world record mule deer there that they had just flown in from wherever they were, but it was awesome to see that and hold that. Like it's always cool to just go see all those big animals, and like the
Yeah,
OGs, like Times
multiples.
Up is always there, and
Yeah,
some of those like the videos I watched growing up, and anybody who shot hunted watched those videos back in the
yeah,
day.
but
It's just
yeah,
cool to see those for sure.
yeah. It is for sure.
Usually
Well,
at a hard time of the year too, as far as like Valentine's, is that like the 14th right
Friday, I think.
then. For a while I didn't go. My dad always told me, like, hounded me, you need to go up there, shake hands and stuff. But it was during like scouting, looking for shed season. So I'd rather be out looking at animals. I finally went one year, and I've gone every year since just because I love it so much. It's so fun. The people that are there, everybody you get to meet, it's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Hopefully, I can make it out. But I did want to dive into just how you got started. It sounds like your dad got you started, or how'd you guys get into it?
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
got you're pretty young because some of the stuff I've seen is just I'm like, dang, he is young there.
Oh yeah. Probably since I was 3, honestly, I've been at hunting. Like he used to carry me on backpack or one of those things. I mean, well, all dads do pointed out. I think he got started like I want to say it was either early 90s, late 80s is when he started doing it with my grandpa, like back here. He loved it, like, because we all kind of worked together. He passed away a few years ago, but he'd skip work to go shed hunting and take my dad and stuff with him. And
Yeah,
so it kind of just got, he loved it so much. And then my dad just took me, he had a first shed I ever found was with him. I was probably like 4 or 5, like legit, I think was 4 or 5 because they'd always tell the story. He had a Henry Mountains tag, and I walked around a tree, picked up weather glassing, picked up a horn and brought it back to him. Have that picture somewhere, but it's, yeah, I don't know. I've been doing it ever since I can remember,
yeah, that's
honestly. And then
awesome.
I started hiking by myself like 11 or 12. Like that was always my biggest thing. I wanted to hike by myself, have my own pack with my treats and everything,
Your
and
own
just
sheds.
go.
Yeah,
Yep. Because I mean, as a kid, it'd always be like, did he like say, hey, go walk around that bush, buddy? Like, there might be a
yeah,
horn over there. So I wanted to find my own horn. So I started doing that really young, just going off of my own. It sucked, honestly, because like I'd come back with a chalky deer horn and they'd have piles of elk horns. And it's like, where'd you guys go? Like,
yeah.
it's just something that takes forever for your eye to, even if
Develop.
like going with them as much as I did as a kid, like hiking the right country, like all the things for a long time, I thought I needed to hike up to the very top of the biggest hill I could find, just because I knew people wouldn't, like general people wouldn't want to go up there. And every once in a while I'd pick up like a big deer horn that would be on top that nobody had
Yeah.
seen or walked by. But yeah, that's I owe everything to my dad, because he's the one that started the bug. And that's all the sheds. I owe it to him, all of this, because I don't know, I just loved it so much
Yeah.
as a kid. I always
That's all.
wanted to make content. Like, I have old videos from like old cameras that me doing what I do now, and when I was 15, 14, 13 and
Yeah.
stuff.
Those
Pretty
are
cool.
probably some of the ones I seen that I was just like, holy cow, he's so young.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. It's crazy.
But yeah, you've been doing a lot of focus on getting some of that content out, obviously with Instagram and YouTube and stuff. Like, how's that going, and where do you want it to go?
I'd love to do this full time
Yeah.
eventually. Just started doing some stuff with YouTube where I have a source of income. Been really bad about like shirts and stuff like that, trying to get those out.
Yeah.
But as far as my growth and everything has been awesome. Like last year, I just posted something, I think, and it was like I had 500 subscribers at this time last year on YouTube, and now I'm
Yeah, I did
almost
see that.
double. Well, I'm way over double that, almost triple that now, and
Yeah.
it's just awesome to see. I mean, it's like snowball effect. You get one or two, and then like I
It's
think I
growing.
just looked at my analytics. The last 28 days, I've got 50 subscribers, and probably a year ago, I couldn't even imagine having one or two a month, versus let alone 50.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. And
Yeah.
Instagram is always hit and miss for me, because I don't know. I feel like the algorithms are so hard to hit, because I'll post a few and I'll gain a ton, and then it goes dead for a while. It's such a hard algorithm to hit, but consistency,
It
that's one
is.
thing
It's
Wes taught
weird.
me. Like 2 posts a day, you need to like be consistent on what time you're posting and stuff, and that does help a ton. Like when I get in a groove and I'm doing that or have content to post, and I can do it twice a day for weeks on end, I do see substantial growth in everything.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
It's a lot of work
It's
though
awesome.
to do that many posts and be so consistent. It's fun because you're posting what you like, but it is a lot of work to stay that consistent. But that truly is what it takes.
Especially like this time of year, it's hard, December through probably till February, just because you're almost out of content to post. Like you're reposting same things. Like the thing I found hard when you're trying to do 2 posts a day for 3 months, when it's either snowing all the time or too cold, or
Yeah.
you don't have any hunting stuff to
Yeah.
post anymore. It's for sure
Yeah.
hard, because people see a lot of the same stuff this time of year, same sheds from the
Yeah.
past.
Or just reflections on the past seasons and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been pretty fortunate socially. Like I've had a ton of support, and from lots of people, family, friends, that reposted and shared a lot when in the beginning, and just had a lot of positive feedback. Really haven't had any negative. So that's been pretty awesome. Have a really good crowd that follows, and I appreciate every one of them, because I mean, I'm here doing a cast now because of that, and I never would have
Yeah.
thought of that for sure.
Yeah.
So
No, your hard
yeah,
work speaks for itself. So that's kind of what stands out, your consistency and your hard work. I mean, like how you look up to Wes, other people are going to be looking up to you in that same regard, just watching you do it, watching you grow, all that type of stuff. And then, like we were talking about, just the support that you get from everybody, I think in the industry. My stuff just started. Like I just barely started this in like October, so it's like barely just starting to roll, and I'm just like, I like it. I have a regular job, and I love that too. So I'm able to do this on the side and with a little bit of extra time, it's been cool so far to kind of inch out and talk to super cool people within this industry. Everyone, like you said, is super supportive. And I've had a few negative things kind of come my way, but whatever,
yep,
like
push those to the side almost, and just
I like what I'm doing. So why would I care what anybody else thinks? I know there's a lot of other guys that love shed hunting and love to chat about it. So that's what I'm doing it for. It's for whoever loves it. And hopefully the people listening, get things out of it. So that's my biggest thing, has just been that I just want for people to get something out of the podcast or get something from my videos and stuff like that. If it can help one person find a shed that they've never been able to find, then
oh,
doing good.
the more knowledge about shed hunting you can have, honestly, the better, because everybody's got tips and tricks going both ways. And this podcast is honestly an awesome idea, especially for anyone who enjoys shed hunting. Like, you should be listening to this podcast because there's going to be so many people that do shed hunting passionately that are going to talk in here that you're going to be able to pick a few things here or there from and apply that to your own for sure.
Yeah. And that's across the board too. I hope I've talked to quite a few people, and I even have quite a few that I've just gotten recorded in the last few weeks. So those are all still going to be rolling out as well. So it's just getting more and more people to come on and chat. I mean, if you love shed hunting and stuff, then I want you on so we can chat, you know. I just know across the board, it's just, you know, everyone's got a good origin story on why they shed hunt and the things that they look for, and everyone does something different, you know. So it's cool to kind of see what other people do, you know.
100%. Even going from state to state, it's different as far as shed, like, so much different. Like, I've learned that the hard way because even like most of these like deserty units, I guess you could say, the elk drop at a certain elevation, and then like I've been to Arizona and stuff, like backpacking and stuff, it's way different. They drop so high. It's insane comparative to here,
And
honestly.
what's crazy about that is what kind of elevation are you thinking here in Arizona?
The highest I've ever found one in Arizona was 10.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the lowest I found one out here, I think, was just below 4.
Jeez. And
So
elk,
that elk shed,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So
like
that's why I'm
bringing
like,
down
they're spread out in Arizona. It's kind of different, you know.
and unit too, like unit specific, like different units. You got to pay attention. Honestly, it's so much more than just even the animal or terrain. Like, I mean, terrain is huge, feed and all that, but like the geographic, like, does it stay hotter that time of the, like, hotter throughout the year in this area versus this area because they're going to be higher. I mean, it's just a fact, but
Yeah.
it's crazy.
The cooler pines versus the high desert, for sure. It makes total sense. Speaking of that, when you go state to state, are you guys picking brand new spots, looking at maps based on maybe prior knowledge of being there? Say if you're picking a brand new spot, what are you doing when you hit the ground there? Looking for this, and that, and then hit the ground. Is it good? Is it not good? And then what are you doing from there?
So, like, a lot of those spots in Arizona and spots surrounding, like, my dad's hunted a lot of that. Coyote went through a lot. So, some of those spots, like, he's just been like, yeah, we went and used to call right here. We'd pick up sheds. And then
With some prior knowledge.
just my dad's got some friends, like, one of his buddies is in, like, hunting full. And the Cody Smith is my dad's buddy that actually told me about this elkhorn spot in Arizona. But when I do go to a new state and I have no prior knowledge to something, I'll e-scout it a ton, look for water, vegetation. That's one nice thing about Scout to Hunt is there's a vegetation layer, there's all the guzzlers, waters, and it shows like the different roads and stuff that are good and bad. But I will use that, and I'll use Google Earth, and I will swap back and forth between the two because both apps can tell you different things, especially like Google Earth, you can go more 3D than Scout to Hunt, if that makes sense. So I'm looking at a lot of that. I take and apply, like, this is weird, but places I found elk sheds in other states and stuff like that, I'll look at on the map what the vegetation looks like or a rock. Like, for some reason, I know I have lots of elkhorn spots that there's a certain color rock on the map that I know if I go there, I'm going to find something in that area. So I will pay attention to those details, color of rocks, and then the vegetation around it, whether it's cut up rocky stuff or something like that. Also, once I hit the ground, I'm there. Usually the first thing I do at night is, depending on the year, but usually it's during shed season, I will go walk around at night. If it's at night, during the day, whatever. First time I get there, I'll go walk around, look for tracks, make sure I'm in a spot. And driving in, even, I'll look for tracks crossing the road, just making sure there's deer or elk, depending on what you're trying to find in that area. Because if there's none of that, like, you're either in a spot you're going to find one big animal that just, there's not that many deer there, or if you're seeing a few tracks cross back and forth, like, there's obviously going to be fed somewhere in there. And then just spreading out. If you're with buddies, I usually I'll do like a line and I'll drop people off down and just like miles apart from each other, trying to just find out, locate home in where the sheds are. And then usually when somebody does really good, we'll go from there and disperse on foot in every which direction. And you can narrow in where a pocket is for sure. And then if there's 3 dudes and you guys hike 4 or 5 miles and nobody's found something, like, usually it's a good time to pick up and go somewhere else for
Yeah.
sure. And
And
sometimes it can
sometimes
just,
that's not even far, right?
yeah, like 10 miles to 2 miles. Like I've been across canyons, looked over and said, oh, that stuff looks good. This stuff sucks. Drive over there and pick up 10, 15 deer sheds or four or
Yeah.
five elkhorns in a day.
That makes perfect sense. And I usually end up shed hunting either with only one or two buddies, or a lot of times I end up on my own. So I want more people there so we can cover more ground so I can get that information, right? Because I
After,
feel like you can put yourself in the sign even too.
oh yeah,
Rubs is a big one that I look for, you know.
yep,
Obviously, you're going to see some late season rubs sometimes,
Rob, for
and I'll
sure.
get in there and sometimes people could flat out beat you there, or you're just one person walking a bunch. And if there's two or three other guys there, you might find that little pocket and then everyone can hone in there. At least everyone's covering that ground much more thoroughly, you know?
For sure.
I'm
Where
slowly getting some of my other buddies more and more into it. Like, hey, let's go, let's go, let's go.
it's kind of a hard thing, especially choosing the right buddies. Like I've got two or three that I like to go with, and that's about it because it's so competitive around here. Like everybody shed hunts now, especially like from my hometown. So
Mhm.
you got to be careful who you choose because I've been screwed over a couple times on some spots and things. But it's always funner doing it with buddies for sure. I mean, it makes it funner when people are finding stuff, especially if you're camping at night when you bring everything back and you're doing a fire, even just sitting in a tent talking to each other and stuff. It's always so much funner with friends than
Yeah.
by yourself. Because I mean, say you find something special, you got to wait till you get home to show anybody that was there. Like you're like,
Yeah.
man, I want to drive home now. Like that's
I
always
want
my
everybody to
biggest.
see this. Yeah.
Yeah, my biggest thing is when I find something big, like I always call my dad because he's like the guy I know that would appreciate it the most out of anybody. And sometimes it's so hard not to just drive home. Like once I pick it up and show it to him because
Yeah.
he's the one he gets as excited as I ever do. So it's pretty cool, and he doesn't even have to be there, which is the fun thing. It's awesome,
Yeah.
super awesome.
I've done that before. I was out hunting in real time, and my brother and one of my other buddies, my cousin, they were all at lunch together. And all of a sudden, I send one a picture, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And they'll end up finding another shed and another shed. So I'm like sending them pictures, and then they're just like out hanging out at lunch. I'm like, dude, you guys
Sure,
be out here, you know?
I know it's always fun. I've done that with my lots of friends. Like they'll have one thing that kind of inconveniences the whole trip to where they couldn't go. And I'm always
Yeah.
sending pictures to them like, hey, you should have been here. Like it's a blast. And they're
And then
always like, oh,
everyone's all,
hey. It's
yeah,
usually the
everyone's,
next weekend we always go for sure because they're too excited, but it's fun.
yeah, get all pumped up when you stumble on a good spot, you know? It's hard not to be though. Just watching everybody kind of starting to like get that itch, you know, and then people are kind of reminiscing on some of the stuff from last year or finding a couple things here and there this year, and it's just like everyone's just
Or
ready to
even like
roll.
a specific bowl or something that you picked up last year that you're like, holy cow, I can't stop thinking about that. Like throughout the year, I've got that
Yeah.
5x6 I've found last year, and I can't get him out of my head. And then like
Yeah.
a couple deer that we found, and it's just like, holy cow! Well, I can't wait for
Yeah.
shed season. Those browns to be on the ground and go find him again for sure.
That's awesome. Especially right now too, archery hunting, running around on the ground and then seeing bucks. I'm like, man,
Oh,
I'd love to pick those sheds up. You know, even if I'm chasing them all over the hills with a bow. I mean, if I can't get it done here, at least picking up their sheds would be awesome too. You know, especially looking back at the photos and videos you got of them.
that's something I've always wanted to do is that extended archery because it seems so fun. But they made it like the year I was gonna do it is when they did that like rule change. It was like 2 years ago or something. I can't remember what they changed, or they
Now,
were doing like a limit or something on.
yeah, now non-res is limited. I want to say it's 2,600 something ish tags. And then they also put on a tag quota system. That's for everybody, not just non-res. So now mule deer have specific numbers, and then whitetail has specific numbers. When those numbers hit their limit in the unit, it shuts down for that species. So mule deer tends to shut down a lot quicker. Yeah. And that's just, yeah, I mean, it's good opportunity. It's a great time of the year to be out running around. The weather's great. Arizona's obviously a lot cooler than some of the, or I would say a lot warmer than some of the other states. So it's like a perfect time. I mean, you could be in a hoodie and a jacket in the morning, and then by midday you're down to a t-shirt, you know? So,
That's awesome.
and then back to a hoodie as soon as it starts cooling off again, you know?
That phone goes down, and it's like, holy cow! I need to put a jacket on now.
Yeah. But it's cool running around the desert. But speaking of running around, I did want to highlight the photo that you had posted of your boots, and those things were hammered.
Yeah, I grabbed those because I had a pair from May and I had a
Yeah,
brand new pair and the ones I just wore out. So I grabbed those. I don't know visually,
yeah,
but it's pretty crazy because I wore the same spot out
yeah,
boots. But yeah, these boots are both this year from
yeah.
this year. Shed
That's
hunting.
so funny. Yeah. How many miles do you think you're putting on in a year?
I don't even
I
know. I
know it's
used
kind of hard sometimes to track everything, because it's like we hunt on top of shed hunting too.
I want to say I'm getting out most weekends, and then a weekend I do a minimum of 20 miles a weekend, probably.
Yeah,
That's a minimum. And a lot of
yeah,
those, it's like, I want to say on average, every day I'm hiking, I'm from 12 to 15 miles every day. Just regarded, but I know like when we do our backpack Arizona trips, I'm 50 miles a week when we do that. And so I don't know. I don't even know if I could put a number. I'd say
tough
like
to put a number to it.
500, 600 up in there somewhere miles, maybe
Yeah,
in a year for sure. That would be a bet. But yeah,
that
it's
is some serious miles too. You saw the picture. My boots looked similar to that. They weren't for 1 year though. They were 7 years old. Yeah. I was just like such a good pair of boots, and they were like Gore-Tex lines. So I just didn't want to get rid of them. I just kept wearing them and wearing them, and finally they're just like slipping all over the place. I'm like, the only reason why I'm not wearing these anymore is because they literally have no grip left on them.
it's
Yeah,
when that grip wears down too, like your feet start to hurt, and like after
yeah,
a day, like your foot is physically sore versus when you have that tread, or it just gets soft over the time, and you feel every
yeah,
rock you step on and
yeah. I think
stick, and
those
yeah,
ones I was really starting to feel everything. I was like, dude, I was like, I don't want to cash these ones in, but it's time. They were
when
pretty
you get a
worn.
good boot, you definitely don't ever want to switch it out, especially like a good single pair, because sometimes boots will wear funny from the same even manufacturer person who does it. But yeah, when you get a good comfortable boot, it's the worst when you see it blow out on the side or wear all the
Yeah,
way down like that. It's honestly sucks.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
that one, the soles were coming apart or tearing apart in different places. Yeah, it was rough, but it was time to retire them at that point. They were
that
just,
is something this year I'm doing. I'm tracking all my miles on out to hunt, and I'm going to do. I can't decide where I'm going to put it yet. Either I'm going to do like a weekly post or monthly post, but I'm going to put a mile to boot ratio on this new pair that I
awesome.
just had, so that you
Yeah,
guys and I'm going to try out a couple different boots. Like I bought some Loas the other day. I'm going to get some Crispies. I used to have Crispies. That's all I'd wear, but these boots I have now like doubled the time of Crispies. But anyways,
yeah,
I'm going to get another pair of Crispies, and then I'm going to do a mile to walk before like stuff starts to go wrong, just so
yeah,
I'm gonna help people out if they're trying to pick a boot. Like this is what's lasted long for me. I got a blister at this many miles or something like that. So
yeah, yeah.
be
No,
looking for
that's like a really, especially the amount of miles you put on, you'll be able to really kind of hammer them through the test.
it.
That's awesome, actually. I like using the Under Armour ones. They're light.
I love the Under Armour ones. I don't know what's
They do get hammered on the soles
and they wear out way quick. Like I used to have
real
those
quick, maybe because
fat
they're so
tires.
soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever wear the fat tires that had like that
I
freak
I
big?
was gonna get those ones next,
Oh
but
really?
yeah,
Uh,
they're
they're
probably they probably wear out like the other ones pretty quick or what?
but they're
Yeah,
so comfy. They're one of the.
yeah,
It's like walking on air. But yeah, they
yeah,
do go out because they've got that boa and stuff, and it every time you walk, it wears. There was
yeah,
the Cam Hanes boot was one of my favorites until the padding squished down, but it was so awesome. I
yeah,
don't know what's something with Under Armour. They're going away from hunting. I don't know what it is because I can't find their camo or the boots even anymore. Are starting to
yeah. I noticed
go
it
away
thinning out all that stuff. Yeah, unfortunately.
because they're Ridge Reaper camo. That's all I wore for forever, just because the
Yeah,
pants lasted so long.
I
It
still
was
have a bunch of it.
Yeah, that's I've got like 3 pairs, but they were on Amazon for really cheap for a
Oh,
while.
really?
Yeah, it kind of sucks they're going away from that, but that's a boot. Like when I first started, like getting serious, that's Under Armour's all I wore for a long time. But
Mm.
that's a good boot for sure, and
Yeah,
pretty inexpensive
it
compared to
is.
some of the
Yeah,
other ones.
I really like just how light it is. It's so light in the hills and comfy. Yeah, I did notice that. I've had a few pairs of those so far, and they are just hammered by the time I'm done with them.
Yeah, usually like I was like 3 or 4 months in those, and it was like they are so light, but that material, like if you get anything abrasive, like if you're in rocky country, it tears
Yeah,
through those sidewalls pretty quick.
absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly mine tore out like right on the side, like not at the ankle, but right on that like stitching line. And
Yeah,
that was probably literally just from stepping between rocks and yeah, you're going all over the place. Yeah.
and that's the nice thing. It's Gore-Tex, but once you get a hole in there, like going through snow or North Slope or anything like that sucks because
Yeah,
you
you
get
open it
mud,
back up. Yeah.
snow in your shoes for sure.
Yeah.
But that's these leather boots. They're non-insulated. That is something I've gone to just because the leather holds up so well, and like the that seam, like having that problem with the seam on the thing,
Yeah.
like this is glued all the way down into the boot, so
Yeah.
the leather rips. So that's kind of why I've gone to a leather boot. The non-insulated, and then they're just comfy anywhere I go. Like
Yeah.
I took them to Alaska this year, and I was shed hunting them in 100-degree heat this year in summer. So I mean, they're very versatile, very comfy. I mean, they're heavier, but they're really not that heavy for a leather boot. They last a
Yes.
real. I mean, last me 7, 8 months, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good for me.
That's funny. You're
Yeah, I had
yeah, and
those.
it's like your boot can't even make it through the whole year.
I had Crispies, and I loved them. They were the crispy Nevadas,
Mhm.
and I would, man, like 4 or 5 months, they would the stitching. I don't know what these guys do, but like the stitching right here on those Crispies would peel off because they have a different stitch pattern. And then it was
Yeah.
the same thing. I was getting snow in them, or mud, or
Yeah.
something, or sticks would get caught in them, and I'd trip. And it wasn't the best. But that's kind of why I went away from them for a while. They're super comfy boot. I like them. They have like a narrow boot fitting, whatever. But I really love those for sure.
Yeah. Have you tried Rockies before?
I've never tried Rockies. I've had some friends, and the only reason I stayed away from that, I had a buddy that tried them, and he rubbed a blister like the first couple times he went out. So
Immediately.
I stayed away from those just because I
Yeah.
mean, you get a blister, it's
Yeah.
you're out for.
Yeah, it takes a while. Some of them are in weird spots too, like if it's on like the pinky toe or something and it's just rubbing. Yeah, or right on the ankle. We used different boots and Rockies was one of them, but they always had really comfortable boots. But
Yeah,
I think it just depends. Different boots just work for different people, you know? Some people
that's
want a harder sole boot, but if I'm hiking that much, I want a good soft sole in there.
yeah, that's it's crazy. I had a buddy that is in the military or whatever right now, and he said like running on concrete and stuff is one of the worst. Like, because when they do their PT and stuff, he said it's one of the worst things ever, especially in his boots they wear. Like, depending on your country, might depend a lot. Like, that's a lighter boot, like those Under Armour ones. If you're in Deerhorn country and stuff, like those are awesome, especially if you're low, like sandy or just those like broken up rock that's smaller. Like, I love a light boot for that because I lighter, more breathable, and I can go, I feel like, further than these heavier leather boots. But like if I'm in anything out country wise where I'm hiking steep, rocky stuff, I definitely want a firmer boot for sure. You're not tearing it as much. So I honestly think it's almost worth it to have two pairs for different countries. So you're not wearing out one boot and paying hundreds of dollars every time it wears out.
Yeah,
They do
makes
last
sense.
longer if you've got a couple to rotate through.
I've even used the Nike ones that are basically like Nike free, and
Yeah.
those are even lighter. But like you said, I mean, those would probably work great in like a flatter little rolling hills country versus
Yeah.
steep stuff because they have virtually no ankle support.
Mhm.
Very little. It's just but they're even lighter and still pretty durable. But in a mountain country or rocks, heck no, because you'll just roll your ankle. And then if you smash your ankle against a rock, I mean, you want good support on the sidewalls and stuff too. So
For sure. I had a rock. I don't know. My dog rolled it down. I was climbing over these rocks, and it was a pretty good sized rock, and it freaking rolled on my ankle like mid hike. I don't know what happened, but I was glad I had like a higher up ankle support because if I would have been in like these low as I have or something, it would have crushed my foot. And I don't know, it would have sucked for sure. I mean, you get any kind of injury leg wise this time of year, you're not going to be hiking when there are browns on the ground. So it
yeah,
was kind of scary for a minute, but it was fun for
yeah,
sure. The ankle support's a huge thing, I think,
yeah,
especially if you get tired at the end of the day and your feet start dragging and you're
yeah.
kicking rocks and stuff. You're
Or
not
you
picking your feet
slipping,
up all the way.
or you slip and fall into the bushes.
Yeah. Flip, fall, snap horns. That's the worst. I've
Yeah.
had a couple times break tines, fallen.
Yeah. I've fallen like backwards in a bush last in November and literally had to like snap out of my backpack and roll over out of it just to get out of this bush because I slipped and I tried to grab onto this thing, that little tree, and that came out with it and I fell in a bush. Luckily, the bush was there too. I had fallen like this, so it was like already like at a decline, you know, and then I'm like, I mean, it's easier for me to just roll out backwards than it is to go forwards.
For sure.
But usually one of the things I get too is just kind of just getting some tips out of people. So aside from kind of knowing where animals are is a huge key. So for anybody listening, big key is pre-scouting. But is there anything or any like gear or stuff that you use that you would say maybe help you along the way or help you find more stuff?
Honestly, I don't even know. I honestly, vegetation is a huge thing for me to look for. I always look for sagebrush, bitterbrush, mahogany. I mean, depending on, like, usually if you're in your spot, you know what kind of like what they prefer to eat
Yeah.
or whatever. So I'll look for that and big pockets of it. Heavy pockets, just something that can support a lot of animals for sure, and definitely stuff that's closer to water. Like, I mean, without water, they can't do much. And sometimes through the winter, like if you have a heavy winter, they'll be definitely more spread out because there'll be creeks running that aren't usually running or stuff like that. So I look for that. Snow is a big thing. I mean, you gotta watch, go out, look at the snow, see where tracks are going. Like, I mean, if there's tracks this high or whatever, you get a ton of snow in a year, they might be way lower. So like pre-scouting is a huge thing that helps me because honestly, they could be like this year. I mean, we've hardly had any snow down in southern Utah, so those animals are going to be up high. Like that's a big key factor to me, at least, like knowing what elevation they're going to be at this time of year, because you could go somewhere and pick up a whole bunch of hard whites and not find any browns because last year we had a pretty good winter. So I feel like they're going to be some of these animals are at a different elevation, but you also have those ones that go back the same place every year after year. As far as tools, and
I know with shed hunting, like gear wise, I mean, you can go out with literally nothing, or sometimes people have stuff they like to use, you know?
binoculars for sure.
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
always pack a tripod, always, no matter what, just so you have a stability something to use. It makes 100% of the difference. Like I've been glassing off my knees, saw something I thought was a shed and thrown it on a tripod, glassed the same hill and glassed up sheds that were obvious in the open. I do that, tripod. I'm trying to think what else I would use. Depending on the country, like if you know you're not going to be able to hike a bunch, like if it's really steep stuff, like throwing a spotting scope in does help because then you can just check more things that much further if you need.
I do like that spotter confirmation. I carry the little Vortex like 12-36-50, and it's just nice because it's so small and compact. I think it's only like 10 inches, like it's very tiny, you know, and I just stuff that thing in there. And then it's not like, I mean, I'm not going to be able to pick apart every little like detail on the antler, but it's still enough to be like, yep, that's a pedicle, you know,
Yeah, that's
versus like on the fence. Yeah.
and that's the thing I like too. Like I run 12s
Mhm.
and they are like going from a 10 to a 12, especially for shed hunting. They're like, to me, the perfect magnification because you can see so far, but also they're not too much at too close for sure. That's like a lot of my buddies I know run the 12s just because it's, I don't know. I feel like the magnet, because I've looked at horns in a 10 and a 12 difference, and you can definitely tell like in a 10, like oh, maybe that's a shed, and then the 12 magnification, it's there. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for sure shed. But
Yeah, I run since the 1556s. I like those for hunting too.
yeah,
But when you look at big country, it helps to have big eyes, you know?
for
So
sure. That's my
I kind
dad
of,
has a pair of those 15 SLCs or whatever, the Swaros, and I freaking love those. They're heavy, but I mean,
those things are
sit down on
amazing.
a knob with some open country, you can glass forever for anything.
I do love picking apart hills for sheds for sure. I like to say that at least if I'm glassing small enough to pick up a shed, I'm definitely going to see an animal in there somewhere, you know? Obviously, you can't see them all, but that's how sometimes I do end up finding sheds. I just glassed a little spike shed up like last week, or but when I had found a shed, I was just like, can't tell. I see a main beam and a pedicle, like the little burr of the antler, but I'm like, I just can't tell if it's a true spike shed or if the things are just buried under something, because I've had sticks laying across them before too, where it's like, I'm like, I can tell it looks like a shed, but that stick laying across it kind of throws it off.
That's always something your mind goes to, is like, is that just a dead log or actually a tine? And we talk about this all the time, me and my buddies, but like 95% of the time, I'd even say 98, like when you glass a shed, it's like, oh, that's a shed. Like there's really never question your mind, and anything you ever question is usually not a shed. Because like it's just so obvious, like, oh yeah, that's a shed. Like when it's always a shed when you say that. Like it's never not been one for me. Anytime I question myself, it's usually a stick or a log, or when they're up in a tree and it looks like they're laying behind the tree, and you get it to it and you look up in the sky and there's a dead branch or something on the tree. I've had that happen a couple times, just the elevation change.
I've had a couple sticks fool me here and there, but
yeah,
that's awesome. Well, yeah, we can start wrapping it up here. That way I don't keep you too long, since we spent so much time trying to get this whole thing going.
You're good.
Plug in all your socials and everything, so people, if they're listening to this, they can find you, follow along.
Yeah, we're NextGen Hunting on YouTube is where like a lot of my full videos, everything is posted. I do some vlog stuff there, showing off the horns from the year, like best sheds, whatever. Instagram is next_gen hunting. So follow us on there. And then I do TikTok. I think it's Mac Batty on TikTok. I'm almost 100% sure it's Mac Batty. And I post a lot there too, just kind of doing my own thing there just for fun. Like I don't post a lot, but I do post there just to keep some stuff going. Yeah, for sure. But those are the two main things that we're on. Like I said, it's been a fun journey for sure.
Yeah. It's cool to see all the stuff you guys pick up, and some of the cooler stuff, getting into it too, off the typical, some of that mixed up stuff. That one mule deer one you guys recently found was like a pretty good, what did it have, like some funky inline points or something? I can't remember which.
Did it have a bunch of like branched off?
Was it like?
Yeah, it was, I'm trying to think, it's right here somewhere, but I don't know what it was. It was like a weird growth on the horn. Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
one's
know
crazy looking.
A fly got down into that pocket and caused that to be all weird and goofy and stuff, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Like the mass was there, but then something got funky, yeah.
Yeah, something weird, because it's got
That's crazy.
4, 7 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a goofy one. Goofy, that one, that big eye guard buck, that next level, like my dad, it's one of the first sets he's ever found, this next level buck. But
yeah, look at that.
You got it colored up and stuff, but this buck's 255, I think.
Wow. And that is some freaking beautiful.
I've always dreamed of finding
some crazy stuff like that.
That's what I'm for every time you go out, because I mean, if you're not, then
I don't even know what I'd do. You'd just be freaking out.
I don't even know, like glassing that up, times down or something.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
I'd probably just think it was a bush.
Just be freaking out all the way there.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like pulling it out of the ground and tines are just still growing, when they're like buried in the dirt like that.
That's always the best, when you can freaking just pull them out and the tines keep going. That's kind of how I picked up a bull this year that had a giant third on it, and it was just like, holy cow, it just kept growing on me and stuff. It was cool. That's
awesome. Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it was good chatting with you, man. I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully I can make it out. Yeah, I'm looking to see if I can make it out, shake some hands. That would be awesome to see some of the people I've been chatting with, or hopefully to get more people on,
For sure.
And, just check it all out too. Yeah, let's do it. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with this year too. And there's a long ways to go still, and you're already getting into it, which will be awesome. So
we'll have to get a hike in too this year sometime.
I appreciate it. Yeah, let me know when you guys come this way too, and we'll see if we can make it happen. But I appreciate you coming on, and thanks everybody for listening to Shedcast. Follow along with everything NextGen's doing, and then follow along with Shedcast for any future stuff coming out.